Welcome to Comically Comics, your one-stop listen to all things comics. We're talking books, movies, TV shows, video games, and more. I must forewarn you, though, we are a spoiler cast, and what that means is we consider all properties, past, future, and present, to be valid, and we will spoil the hell out of them. I'm your host, Michael, along with my two co-hosts, Richard and Jeremy, and with all that being said, let's get started. All right, it is Sunday, December 8th, and we are back with another movie review. This time, we're going over the most recently released Hellboy, the Crooked Man from 2024. Now, I know usually I sit there and do these things where I do like first appearances. However, I did not this time because the nobody was showing up.
Oh yeah,
nobody was showing up. So this movie, though, if you've read The Crooked Man, it's pretty much spot on. So synopsis of it, there's some things going on in the Appalachian Mountains. And Hellboy, of course, and company have got to go and investigate it, and they wind up taking on the Crooked Man. Some witchery and whatnot like that's going on. So, Jeremy, what's your whelming of this movie?
I will say that I think I'm pleasantly whelmed with it. Because it was one of those, like, you can't really complain about it being like nothing like the comic, because it really was like just almost verbatim from the comic there. I mean, obviously they did add a few things here or there because it just got to add a little bit to it, or else it would have been like a 30-minute movie kind of thing. So I liked that part of it. I think you could tell that they were on a smaller budget in some instances.
Oh boy, were they.
Yeah. So that part of it, not so great, but I think the characters, the ones that played it, I feel like they did a pretty decent job. It did go in more into the, like, trying to be in the horror a little bit more on this one, which was a good turn from the other Hellboys. But yeah, overall it was a decent movie, and so, like I said, pleasantly whelmed.
Nice. Richard, what is your whelming of this?
So hot take, I am underwhelmed. I think this movie is absolutely hot garbage. Not because of the story, because it is almost like a 1-to-1, but this movie is bad on so many levels. And yes, I know it's because it didn't have a budget, and we'll get into that because that's a whole thing that I was reading when researching this. But yeah, the acting is bad. The CGI is bad. The prosthetics look really bad. The trailer made me hopeful for it. I like certain aspects in the movie, but yeah, I'm underwhelmed. I did not this movie was an hour and 30 minutes, and at one point I was like, when are we going to be done? Why is this movie not over with yet?
That's funny. So from one end of the spectrum to the very other end, I am just above overly whelmed on this. I freaking love it. I thought it was fantastic. Okay. So
I knew I called it. I told my wife, I was like, Michael's going to fucking love this. Why? I don't know, because it's hot garbage, but he's going to fucking love this.
I absolutely love the acting in this. I loved all the people that got to play the characters.
Are you
I
kidding
thought it was
me?
Fantastic. No,
Jack Kessie is so bad as Hellboy. Are you? He is a charisma vacuum. He is all he does is in this entire movie is chain smoke and say one-liners.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
But that's also like going along with the comic. That's all. He really didn't say much in there.
This one's so hard to compare. Again, I haven't read all of Hellboy comics, but that story in particular, Hellboy is kind of like a side character. It's mostly about the main character, Tom Farrell. So I don't know what exactly. I don't y'all can say whatever you want. That acting is atrocious. And then they add I'm sorry, I'm just gonna rip this for an hour. But the chemistry, they add some stupid love interest between female lead and Hellboy. I forget her name's Dr. Song or something. Joe.
Yeah. Joe Song. Yeah.
And that was not in the comic. It's not needed here. I'm like, why do they want Hellboy to always fall in love with some fucking person? I don't need that to I don't know if it happens in the comic, but I just don't need that for the story to happen. And they have no chemistry. at all to me. At one point, there is a character. It's a like side character, if you will, but it's when Hellboy goes into the house or whatever at the very beginning of the story, and there's like a possessed boy on the ground, and a lady is like explaining what happened to the boy. That lady is just straight up reading her lines. She's not even acting. She's just reading. She's just reading shit off a script at that point.
Now, for our audience, to preference this is supposed to be 1950s Appalachian Mountain. So we're talking like hillbilly, like backwoods, like those type of people is what we're talking about here. And what got me with that scene in particular was they were like, yeah, he ain't moved a muscle in however long they said it. And then they zoom in on him, and the motherfucker is twitching on the floor. And I'm like, he's literally moving muscles right now. But yo, they didn't waste any time getting into this. Like it almost at first I was like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, why are we just throwing stuff at it? Like at first, because you've got Hellboy on a train, and then there's that whole fight, which, okay, some of the things that didn't make it perfect for me were the CGI. Yeah. The spider looked horrendous. There's this giant spider that would fight the one in Harry Potter, and it looked really bad. It looked really like, I don't know if it was lighting, I don't know if it was shading, I don't know what all it was, but it was not good at all.
Yes. The spider looked bad. The train looked bad. When the train is like derailing, you can clearly tell that is a fucking like 3D model from like PS2 era. It's so bad looking. It's so bad looking. It's so bad. And then the thing that annoys me, so I'll just get into it real quick. It's been revealed that this movie supposedly had a budget of $20 million, which is not okay. Like that is chump change. And it's even been revealed, there was a tweet. I found this on Reddit, just looking at like, I was trying to figure out like where the budget was. Necessary Evil FX supposedly was somebody, that's his like Twitter handle, was someone who worked on the movie. And basically he's just saying a couple of things. This is a tweet. He was replying to someone and he said, "Thank you. He was supposed to have yellow eyes added in post as Jack was not comfortable wearing contact lenses that were made for him. I have not seen the film yet, but it looks like they did not do that, unfortunately. The budget was much smaller than rumors are reporting and much smaller than the 2019 Hellboy film. Anything lacking with this film is all due to lack of money." And the last is, I don't know the exact amount, as we have been told different numbers, but from all the sources I have spoken to, it was way less than 20 million that people are speculating on.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was probably less than that, but for the sake of we'll just say it's 20 million. And if you have a budget of $20 million, especially because the comic just starts off with Hellboy's just in the fucking Appalachians.
Right.
Why the fuck would you do that scene with the spider?
That's my other complaint, is the stuff they added to the movie in general is not needed.
Yeah.
They could have done a panel per panel. Like, I understand that's a short story. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get it. But there's the spider. That story didn't need to be added at all. It did nothing for me or the movie itself in general. I'm with you, Richard, on the love story that they were making. There was no chemistry at all. Like when they sit there and the Reverend's like, you know, he's not telling you how he feels about you. And it shocks her or whatever, and it shocks me. I'm like, what are you talking about? There ain't no feelings there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like that didn't need to be done. There was something else. There was another storyline that I was like, this doesn't necessarily need to be done. Like there was a lot of things that just didn't need to happen. You could have just done a short movie.
Yeah. I will say like the one, so I agree on those. And because also like with her, she did this whole thing of like going down into the mines and all that kind of stuff to do. to do some kind of spell thing and then like capture the spider, and supposedly that was, I guess, supposed somehow like help Hellboy, but
Yeah.
I didn't get that at all. Like it was one of those like I don't see the point in this. Like
Right.
it just stupid. So like I agree there. Like that was definitely not needed. I did like that they like the extra they added of whenever Hellboy and Tom were in the house, as far as like him fighting a little bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the comic, it was literally they walk in, like basically like hey, and then they're done.
Yeah.
It's just like nothing much happened.
Bye, police.
He walks in, flicks his bone at Crooked Man's like, oh man, that was one of the things I was looking forward to for the movie. I like the like Crooked Man's true form, if you will, where it's like this gross, crooked, like blob monster.
Yeah.
I was really hoping we'd get that for the movie, but we didn't. But yeah, I will agree. Like they action movied it up a little bit, at least. That was some of the things that I did like. I also liked the graveyard stuff, like them fighting in the church at the graveyard. And I even liked the way they killed the Reverend. And I like the way those like crows, I thought that was kind of cool and scary. But this movie was made by the guy who did Crank, the Jason Statham movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows because there's so many fucking awkward like edits and angles within, literally, I wrote down, within 2 minutes of the movie, we have like 15 different awkward angles. Within 2 minutes, there's like this low angle, and then there's this Dutch angle, and then there's this like top angle with Hellboy like fiddling with his radio, sitting on the box, and I was just like, "What is stop? I feel like I'm having a seizure right now. What is going on?"
I noticed that there was like forced weird injections of like jump scare horror and imagery, and I'm like, that's not needed here.
Yes.
Like you don't like there was a moment where there was rumblings at the church, and all of a sudden it was like ring, and then you saw the witches out in the front, and then they're like shifting, like the image is shifting really fast, and I'm like, I don't need that.
God, those witches were so bad. Their acting was so bad. There's one who just looked like she did like we were like, I don't know. They didn't pay her. They just gave her a bagel or something. It's like payment. Because like she's just going like, she's like mumbling to herself or something. It's so bad looking to me.
She was low on sugar, man.
It must have been like she needed her insulin, something. I don't fucking know. Like
her sugar dropped. Oh, yeah, there were several things. Like I said, it wasn't perfect for me, but overall, like comparing this to like David Harbour, Ron Perlman, stuff like that. Ron Perlman, don't get me wrong, that's like the gold standard for Hellboy. You know what I mean? Like just the way the effects and all that jazz that was done in those movies, it's so polished and it looks so good. I think that's why I enjoyed this more though than say a Ron Perlman, because like it lends more to that Mignola style. Like he has got such a different art style and like just weird indie art style that like that's why I liked it so much more. And then Harbour, I don't know. I don't know. I just there's things about like for you, it's the golden eyes. Like he didn't have that, so it's like a no-go for you. And Richard. But for me, like him Harbour having long hair all the way and I was like, no, I was done. Yeah. I was done. Like this to me, Jack Hissey looked better. So when I was seeing the trailers, I was like, okay, like we saw the teaser and I was like, I don't know about this. And then the trailer came out and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And then now that we got a good look at it, I'm like, the headpiece looks like a helmet. It looks like a little like bike helmet. Like if you were to like go to Walmart and buy like a Hellboy themed bike helmet and put on it, it looks bad. At one point, now I want a Hellboy themed bike helmet. Like
at one point too, you can see when he turns his neck a lot of the times, you can see the like rubber suit wrinkle on the neck part when he's like from like the chest piece that like they're trying to connect to his like real face. And
Yeah.
I remember pointing it out at one point. I was like, look, you can, oh my God, that's so bad. This movie I wrote a note of like, this movie feels like a YouTube fan made movie. It really does. It feels like, and to be honest with you, they had the budget of a YouTube. Like, so I'm trying to forgive it for that.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the story I like. I think the writing is not bad. I think some of the stuff that they added was completely and totally unnecessary. I just think like how the movie was made, how the movie was edited, how it was filmed and everything else is 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Like it's just dog shit.
That's when you sat there and said 20 million, and I was like, oh, okay. And you're like, oh no. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking in my head, I'm like, that's why it looks the way it looks.
Oh, okay.
Like I was like, that's completely understandable now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I feel like outside of like the adding of to the story, if you gave them a bigger budget, I feel like this would have been a better movie. I think I wrote down the Rotten Tomatoes stuff, which take that for what you will. I think the critic score on that was like a 38. I want to say that the audience score was around a 50 something. So I don't know. I feel like this would have done better had it gotten a bigger budget. But at the same time, considering what happened to Harbor, like, what do you do with something like that? And like, why? So like, here's another question I have. Why even make this movie then?
That's what I
like. If you're not going to sit there and throw enough money at it to like really do something with it, they didn't release this in the theaters here in the States, as we know. But for people in the audience who may not, they did not release it here in the States. It's about to get released on Blu-ray and DVD, not even 4K. I didn't even see a 4K release of this, which is odd to me, honestly.
Yeah, the release dates, it was August 29th, 2024 in Portugal. That was the earliest release date. And then September 27th for the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then for us, it was released video on demand on October 8th, which was just, you could buy it, like rent it and stream it digitally if you wanted to. But yeah, it's, I've been wondering the exact same thing, Michael, because one, I was like, well, maybe it's, I was thinking maybe it's bought, like whatever, Warner Brothers owns it. And it's one of those where they're just making a shitty movie to keep the rights or something.
Yeah.
But it's not even like it's distributed by some fucking company called Ketchup Entertainment. Like, I saw that pop up and I was like, who?
Right. That when we first heard the teaser rumblings and it came out and is in that 480 definition and I saw the ketchup thing, I was like, no fucking way. There's no way this shit is real. This is so made up, make believe, like, let's get something rolling bullshit. Like there's no way this is real. And then it turned out to be real. And I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. There's so many weird choices too. Like, all right. I'll stop shitting on it just for a second. One thing I want to say, the actor that played Tom Farrell, I specifically wrote a note down here. I said, the actor that's playing Tom Farrell is carrying this movie much like how he's carrying his father on his fucking back. He's the only one putting, like, I don't know if he got paid the most or what, but he's the only one putting in effort into this movie to like to me his acting was great. His was the best of the
well, you know where
movie.
he's from, right?
No, I don't.
He's on Yellowstone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't watch Yellowstone.
So he probably is the highest paid one on there.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Nice. I mean, Jack Casey ain't a huge name, but I don't think he's a slouch neither, though. So
yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a huge name, but what he did in performance was just dog shit.
I thought that was par for Hellboy, and all like the stuff that I've read of Hellboy, and like I did think he smoked way more than like he was a straight up chain smoker, and I was just I know Hellboy smokes, but I never took him as a chain. Like I never took him as that.
Yeah,
like it was just one after another. After like he ate one and then straight up lit another one. I was like, why the fuck are you eating a cigarette? What are you?
Yeah, I was like, Jack Kessie gonna have lung cancer by the end of this movie.
That's so funny. But yeah, I like Jack Kesey's performance. I thought it was par for Hellboy. Honestly, for me, it was.
But what I'm pointing at is like, I wish I should have like recorded both of them and played them side by side. Just him saying, "Oh crap." Like if you go back and watch Ron Perlman, like where, he's fighting Samael, the desolate one or whatever, and it's revealed that he can come back to life or whatever. Ron Perlman says a line, he's like, "Oh crap." Like there's so much more character and like emotion into it compared to Jack Kesey just going like, "Oh crap." Like it's just so devoid of any kind of charisma to it whatsoever.
I'm trying to think. I feel like because Perlman's Hellboy is way further along in his career, and Harbor's Hellboy seemed the same as it was like further along in his career. Whereas this one's like in the 50s, so I feel like this is like really early on. Yeah. That's not to say that he can't have charisma. That's not to say that he can't have, like whatever in his voice. I just feel like it's maybe less human contact. I don't know. I'm just kind of reading into it now or whatever because I actually liked it. So
the other thing too is they give him a bunch of weird lines that I think just fall flat for me. Like he says, one of them's radioactive man.
Oh yeah,
weird. Screwed, chewed, and tattooed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Then there was another one where he said like it was something along the lines like "I'm the thing that gives you heebie-jeebies," or "I'm the heebie-jeebies," or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they just all fell flat for me.
I think the biggest thing for me was they did do less CGI stuff than this was. This seemed more like practical, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this came off this gave me more of the indie vibe. Like I said this thing earlier anyways, but this is what I liked mostly about this is I liked the indie vibe of the movie and how that relates to the comic book. Like that was my biggest preference of this over Harbor and Ron Perlman.
Yeah, I get that. It's just some of those I'm like, I don't know. I guess it's because we've had such a big budget, like tentpole kind of blockbuster with Hellboy. I'm expecting that, and I don't know. I expected some polish in this, and there was like even like because I do appreciate practical work, but like the scene where Cora comes back like as a raccoon, and then she goes into her like skin. That looked so bad. It looked so bad. It was all practical. They just had like a fake rubber skin suit lying there that they just filled with shit. I don't know, like air or something. But it just looked like a fucking inflatable doll or something. It just looked so fucking bad.
Yeah, I could see that. There was some things that did stick out that were bad. But I mean, again, $20 million budget.
Yeah,
at best.
Look,
at best,
I am absolutely
goes back to why.
Yeah, no, I am absolutely taking that into consideration. But I'm also like, I've seen, like, look at Sam Raimi. Look at the Evil Dead one. Like that one's terrible, and that one had a shoestring budget. I mean, I get like a cult classic kind of thing has its charm with how bad something is made. And far be it from me that I've watched plenty of like old Doctor Who episodes where they're terribly made. But still, like, again, I just expected some sort of like better effects than what we got. And I think, again, if you gave it more of a budget, say 60 million, I think 60 million would have been fine here. I'll even go 50. I'll give it 50. I think 50 million, we could have gotten something really cool here that would have been still like indie looking, but like way better polished than what we got. And I also think if we got a different director, because I just don't think that director suits Hellboy, in my opinion. Like, because there's that weird witch ball, like they just randomly like stop the movie to explain what witch balls are.
Right.
And
which the comic kind of does that too.
Yeah. But like it's just so like it was not needed because it's just like, what the fuck is this?
I agree. A character comes in that you never see again. It does not matter. It makes no difference. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, because it was like we said, it was the same way in the comic where there was no lead in. It just bam, there's about the witch ball, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like how they brought the witch ball back, though, especially in the fight with Crooked Man at the end.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't done in the comic book at all.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I did like and appreciate that. I thought that Effie Cobb was crazy as shit, and I actually enjoyed that character and like all the creepy stuff that she was doing. Do what?
Yeah, she did a good job. The actress did a good job with it. So
I thought so as well.
Yeah, she was okay. She was chewing the scenery. I didn't also.
Yeah,
my wife and I didn't like her like fake like Southern accent kind of thing. I thought she was hamming it up a little too much. But other than that, she wasn't like, like I said, a charisma vacuum like the others were.
No, see, I liked her accent. I like what she did with that. I don't know what it was. I enjoyed it. Another scene that I felt like had no place and didn't need to be added was, and I want to get y'all's take on it as well. What did y'all think of the whole Hellboy's mom and the witch stuff? Like all that. There was like, I don't know, there's like 10 minutes of that in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really care for it much either, because to me it didn't play in. Well, I don't know what his story, like back history, is in the comic, but at least like the way that it's been presented in the other movies is, they were in that other dimension and that's where he came from. So I don't know. It just doesn't. It's a weird contradiction to whatever other kind of history he has.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't read it, but I've done a lot of like wiki research and stuff. Hellboy's mother is in fact a Arthurian like witch from like King Arthur stuff. So that's why like he is a descendant on his mom's side of King Arthur. And his father, spoilers. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that relates back to the Harbor movie where all that came into play.
Yes, exactly.
Of like the bloodline of King Arthur can wield the sword.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
And then his father, spoilers, I want to say he's a prince of hell, but I think he's Azazel, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a very high-ranking demon in hell. I want to say for the Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy, the Ron Perlman one, that portal isn't like in space. I think it's just like what would be considered hell, if you will. Like it's Guillermo del Toro leans, and so does Mike Mignola, leans into more of the Lovecraftian Cthulhu stuff of like things of this, like things that go bump in the night aren't just like stuff that we've seen through like Christianity and Catholicism and stuff. It can be like just crazy looking squid monsters, if you will, out in space. So I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like that's what Guillermo del Toro is going for when that opens up. They don't really show, I mean, they kind of show the origin with, Lobster Johnson and all that, but they don't really show like, the out in space kind of stuff that Guillermo did. But yeah, the back to your question though, all like comic pasta, that was a whole tangent. Like I didn't think it was needed. I guess I don't know. To me, I'm like, when they were making this movie, did they seriously think that they were going to get a sequel? Like when they had a less than $20 million budget, did they really think they were going to have a sequel? So why even put any of that into the movie? The only thing that I can think of is you do have to get your movie distributed in theaters. I think the least amount of time now your movie has to be is 90 minutes.
Oh.
So I think a lot of that is what they call, there's a term, it's called padding the runtime. So I think that's what all this shit was entered in for, is so that they could reach that 1 hour and 30 minutes, which they got an hour and 39, I think. So we could have had 9 minutes cut from this though.
No, we could have had a solid, like, they could have taken out a lot of that stuff. Well, if you're trying to do the hour 30, then yes. But damn. Damn, like this kind of goes back to what you've talked about as far as like the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows and whatnot like that. Like, take the time that you need. If you need 3 episodes to tell a story, take 3 episodes.
Yeah.
If you need 9 episodes to tell a story, take the 9 episodes. Like, yeah, I think that's the biggest downfall of this movie, for me anyways, is the time. Like, I don't need an hour and 30 minutes to have this story told.
Yeah.
You could have taken 30 minutes off at least and told the story in an hour and then put that money towards other things.
Yeah, cut all, like, I just want the story that we read in the because, like, I'll be honest with you, the comic story I liked. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not my favorite, but I liked it. I enjoyed it, and I honestly enjoyed there's like a Blackbeard story later on in the comic that's in my opinion a cooler story, but still I was like, okay, cool. Like, Appalachia has, like, I think it's like one of the oldest places on Earth or something like that. So, like, yeah, obviously there's like tons of weird supernatural shit going on there. Like, yeah, hell, why the fuck wouldn't Hellboy be there? Like, I think that's really cool.
Right.
I also didn't like they cut out the like witches in the mine thing. I thought that was weird. Remember, Cora like dies because there's all these like witches that are down in the mines and they like come up, and you remember that?
Oh, I do not. But
Okay.
now I'm going to go back and look.
Maybe it's in the Elfie Cobb story. Maybe I'm confusing that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does happen in this one.
I was going to say, I'm looking at it now. It looks like there's a bunch down in there and they like drag and they like cast a spell or something. With her. Oh, while she's on the surface.
I thought they should have done something with that because the witches just randomly show up at the church graveyard. And I was like, well, they don't really explain how those witches got there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I thought the acting, the prosthetics, everything for the Crooked Man looked quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. When you see like that actor, he's like a young guy too, it looked like. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I was expecting an older man, and it was this young guy. And I was like, oh.
Oh, was it really?
Cool. Yeah, no.
Oh,
that was crazy.
I didn't look that up.
How did you feel about the acting for the Crooked Man?
Yeah, I said I liked it, but yeah, it was. I thought it's fine. Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was not bad. It was on par. I think I was, and this isn't a critique. This is just me talking to, because we're doing a podcast. But I think I pictured a different voice in my head than what the guy was using. But that's just because, it's a comic and I don't have a voice to it. So I was envisioning something deeper sounding than the way he was more like, I don't know, like higher pitched, nasally sounding.
I actually like
Scrolls.
Scrolls. Guy's name is Martin. I'm going to say Bassendale. There's his mugshot for YouTube because nobody, listening to this can hear, see it.
Dang. I was just looking him up too. So
I also like the Reverend. I really like the Reverend. I like the actor they got for him. I like the way he portrayed it. I thought he did a really good job. So
I think I was indifferent on him. I don't think I hated him or he kind of stood out to me.
I did not realize. I just looked him up too. Like, I did not realize he's the butler on Fresh Prince.
Oh, the Reverend is?
Yeah.
No, yes, that's even better. That's awesome.
That's funny.
That is so awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the last couple of notes I have is just kind of comments on the movie, like not critiquing anywhere, but like Tom Farrell is weirdly okay with just a lump of skin being in that bed.
Yeah.
He just is like, they see it, and in general, which I guess, again, I'm going to make an effort to read Hellboy comics, but also in this universe, and I guess maybe that is just the Hellboy universe, but everyone just fucking knows who Hellboy is. They're not taken aback by a giant red man with like horns that are filed down and a tail and stuff like that. Like, they just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's in this world.
Well, what got me on that was they're like, oh, we saw you on Time magazine, stuff like that, and all that jazz. And she might have just been bullshitting. I don't know. The way that I read it was she wasn't. But in the David Harbour, they were like trying to keep him hush hush and a secret and stuff like that. Well, which even in the Ron Perlman one,
right?
The first one, they were trying to keep him somewhat of a secret in that one too.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of threw me off. I was like, what? What? The cover? No.
Yeah. That's why I was like, what? Wait, what's going on? The only thing I can think of is when they discovered him in World War II, they like took photos, and then that's what was on the cover of Time magazine, like way back in the day. But I don't know. It's just odd. And again, that's not like a critique of the movie. That's just, I'm wondering if that is lore in Hellboy comics, and I'm just unaware of that. The other thing is, again, we should have cut everything that involved that spider, but Joe like defeats it saying some weird German spell, and it grows to a tiny little spider, and then she puts it in a jar. And I was like, lady, that broke out of a crate. What the hell makes you think a jar is going to contain that thing?
I said the exact same thing to my wife. I was like, well, that jar's going to bust here in a little bit whenever it decides it wants to get big again. So, oh, well.
And so just squished it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All of the stuff that like Hellboy should have squished it immediately. Like he does the snake, he does the witch's familiar bug thing. And then I was just like, why not the spider? They should have.
Yeah.
The last thing, this is me critiquing the movie again, but it was the editing. That end where it just, they find this is a perfect example to like how bad the editing is. They find the phone, they go to call the phone. It does a hard like cut to them in the helicopter with this bad like green screened background with like creepy, eerie music. And then Hellboy just like closes the door, and then they're playing like an old like whatever 50s song, and then she like leans on his shoulder, and then it just hard cut to Hellboy the Crooked Man, and then credits. And I was just like, what the fuck was this editing? What the fuck happened here?
Yeah, I had the same complaint with the eerie music in the helicopter. I'm like, why? Like I felt like they were trying to do the door's open, so the creepiness is out there in the Appalachians or whatever. He closes it, and now everything's safe, kind of whatever. But I'm just like, that's not needed at all.
Yeah, and if you do something like that, like I get what you're saying, like it needs to be subtle, like more subtle than that. Because like if you're, I think what you're saying is, how he's talking about like these lands are dark. They're like, it's a noise, it's like calling out to me or whatever.
Dark
so, like,
things called dark things.
Yeah, which I can't believe they kept that. Like I remember making fun of that line when Joe asked, she's like, well, how do you know? And it's like, bitch, he's Hellboy. What do you mean? How does he? He's a fucking demon. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, if that's what that was supposed to invoke, they did a real piss poor job of like that noise, and then he just closes it to like shut it out or something. Like,
I agree.
It was just real bad.
So they should have just done the Jurassic Park theme song as he's flying away.
You can't cross the streams, Jeremy. I forget. You haven't watched Ghostbusters, so it doesn't even matter. That means nothing to you.
No, yeah, it doesn't.
Damn it.
They didn't have the budget, Jeremy, to afford that fucking copyright. The copyrights to that song. That had used up the entire budget. They'd have had to like use paper mache like stuff for Hellboy.
Man, I was gonna say claymation, but I was like, they didn't even have a budget for claymation.
No, they did not.
Oh shit, that's so funny. Well, do y'all have anything else for this movie?
No, I think that's all I had for it.
I have one thing, just because we talked about the budget. This movie, as of yesterday when I checked, this movie made worldwide $1.9 million.
Oh, that hurts a dick.
So if the budget is truly 20 million, which we know it's not, it's less than that, but for the sake of math, it will say it's 20 million. That means they're in the hole, negative $18 million. 18.
Wow.
Yeah, just we'll round up and just say 18 or round down. I mean, and say 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's that's pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like this movie needs some help. Jeremy, you gonna recommend this movie to anybody?
Honestly, probably not going to go out and try and tell anybody. But I mean, like, if it comes up somehow, we're like, yeah, it's a decent movie. You can go watch it if you want to. But I mean, yeah, I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh, did you see what movie I watched? Kind of thing. Like,
Yeah. I got you. Richard?
No, absolutely not. I will recommend them read the story, though, because the story is quite nice. And you don't have to, hurt your eyes by watching that movie. Because honestly, reading the story is like way quick. Like you could finish it within an hour, maybe 30 minutes, depending on if you're like a fast reader, and it's just over and done with. Whereas like this other one, you're like, this is an hour and 30 minutes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This definitely does need like a Comically Comics edit or something like that, where it's just giant chunks are just taken out. It's just the story. Because man, that freaking Call of Duty scene where the zombies are coming in the
church.
Oh, yeah.
Call of Duty zombies. I was like, that's exactly what it reminded me of. And I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. I'm loving this. For like, I know a few people who are like pretty big Hellboy fans. I would probably go and talk to them and be like, hey, have you seen it? Maybe talk to them and stuff like that. Give them a decent heads up about it and advise them to read the story first and then see if they like the story and then go from there. But just straight out and out, like, hey, you should go see this. Nah, probably not so much. However, on that same note, like, I'm probably going to buy this on Blu-ray. It's like the Tuesday that this comes out. Like, I'm going to get this. This is going to be in my collection.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's insane. I feel like you're going to be the only one buying that.
That's fine.
That's crazy.
That is absolutely fine. I'll be the only one that owns it. That'd be great. Fantastic.
20 years later, it's going to be like worth
nothing.
A quarter.
It'll be worth less.
Now you got me wanting to buy two, Jeremy.
It'll be like one of those bins that where like it's just a pile of movies. Like,
yeah, no, like this will be in the
$20 for $1.
Yeah, no, this will absolutely be in some like double pack. Anyway.
It'll be a Blu-ray, so at least be in like the $5 to $7.50 bin, okay?
Yeah.
Do they even have the money to release it on Blu-ray? Is it coming out? I feel like it should come out on VHS. Man, I gotta be honest with you. If it did come out on VHS, it'd probably look a hell of a lot better with that grain on there.
Released on HD DVD.
Yeah.
God bless. Do y'all think they'll be making a sequel to this?
You couldn't even get it out with a straight face.
The question still stands. I don't know to tell you.
No, I don't think so.
No, yeah, I don't. Not unless there's like a wealthy, I don't know, maybe was it Mr. Beast? Like unless Mr. Beast wants to use his fucking money to make a fucking YouTube video.
You know what? Boy, I just think of say that, like what it just makes me think of it would be a Netflix release of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson kind of thing. Like just how horrible that was. And then it'd be along as like I'm sure Jake Paul will probably pick it up and make it not do anything.
All right then. Poor Jack Cassie. Jeremy, where can they find you at?
They can find me on Twitch under the handle on Night Fury GTO. That's Night with a K. And you can find me here. And I'm almost into chapter. I think I'm I'm in chapter 12.
Nice.
It's about damn time.
You know how long I've been waiting for this?
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I know you're looking at me. I know, and you're giving me the face. I just want you to know, though, that I beat the game today. So,
Holy shit, that's awesome.
I beat the game. It's done.
Nice.
I got through the whole 6 credits. Every time they try to psych you out.
Yes. Whoa, spoilers.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Whew. So,
Well, I'll
Richard.
get there.
Maybe. We'll see.
It is 16 chapters, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
So when you get to 15, and
Might as well just-
and you're like, they told me 16. It's 16. I'm just leaving it at that.
Okay.
Richard, where they find you at?
If you want to contact me directly, I have an X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, an Instagram, a Blue Sky, and a Threads. My handle is Night Curry, night like day night, and curry with a K. If you want to contact us directly, we have a Gmail. Our Gmail is comicallycomicspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to check us out on YouTube, possibly TikTok, we'll see, and Instagram, you can check us out under the name Comically Comics Podcast. And if you want to check us out on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, you can check us out under the name Comically Comics with an X.
Oh, Hellboy the Crooked Man will be on Blu-ray tomorrow as this is dropped. So if you're that interested in it, there you go. Have at it. It's also digital out there. But in the meantime, you can find me at Instagram, eBay, and Shortbox at 22_comics. You can also find me on YouTube at 22comics. Thank y'all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed as much as we did making it. Well, all that being said, say goodbye, Jeremy.
Bye, Jeremy.
Goodbye, Jeremy. Goodbye.
I thought Big Red wasn't scared of anything. You getting the heebie-jeebies, friend?
I am the heebie-jeebies.